Hi, and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer. Hi, and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer. And today and all week, we are talking transportation. And one of the exciting things that we get to do is talk with Cap Logistics. And Cap Logistics, I will mention, is owned by the same gentleman that founded the Colorado Business Roundtable, Gail Denninger. But I have with me today John Boner. He is the Intergalactic Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Cap Logistics. And I believe that might be a self-appointed title.
No, that was actually given to me by the family.
Ah, yes, given to Intergalactic. I like that. And I also have Regan Pfleiger with me. He is the Denver Sales Manager. How are you, Regan?
Doing well. How about you?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. And I have Geoff Bergman here with me. He is the International Operations Manager. How are you, Geoff?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking. And if you recognize the name Bergman, it is because we have had his dad on a few times, Paul Bergman. He is our international guy as well. So welcome, you guys. We are talking specifically today about an extensive move that was made. So just walk me through this. How did it start? Who gave you the call? Why did we make this incredible move?
Sure. So I can give you some background information on it. So a customer of ours who's a good domestic customer came to us with a problem. They had a part that one of their vendors was manufacturing in a town outside of Shanghai. Jeff, do you remember what the town where it was coming out of?
I'm going to butcher this, but it was Jiaozhou City, outside of Qingdao.
Mm-hmm. The part is a reflux classifier. There are some videos out there on YouTube about specifically what it does, but to kind of break it down, it just helps to sort soil and rock from actual coal, which is what this customer does in a rural part of British Columbia. Is they mine coal. So this part was very important to them to continue to increase their production and actually restore production to levels that would bring them to be profitable. And this part was supposed to be finished in October of 2017. The vendor who was having this part manufactured unfortunately pushed that out until somewhere March and April time period of 2018, and the customer came to us and said, we are losing such amounts of money, such a vast amount of capital without this part, that we think that it's important that we actually lock in a dedicated aircraft for this part. They went to a couple other vendors, and they felt like they trusted us to make it happen. And the aircraft that was able to accomplish their goal was an Antonov AN-124, which was able to pick the part up in China, take it to Anchorage where it refueled, and then drop it in Calgary, Alberta, where a truck then picked it up from there and took it down to a small town called Sparwood, British Columbia, to have it installed. The problem wasn't necessarily the price of the product or the price of the shipment. Their biggest issue was the fact that this part was so far behind in production and was so valuable to them to increase their productivity that they felt as though that it was important to make an investment in the transportation of it to get it done quickly. We were able to do this in less than a day, and to make the investment to use Cap Logistics for that move.
Fantastic. So I just want to reiterate a little bit here. We went from a small town in China to pick up this part, and we put it in a small town in Canada, in BC, in less than a day.
Yes.
So where are your time traveling suits then? Is what I'm curious. Is that how you got to be intergalactic?
It's the international dateline.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. And obviously you said they made an investment in getting that. That was not, I'm sure, an easy decision, but do you happen to know how much they would have lost on the other side? if they didn't
Yeah.
get this part?
Yeah, so their estimates were, when I met with them before the part was delivered, is that they were in somewhere of the range between 10 million and tens of millions of dollars in lost productivity from that October to March time period without this part. And then, of course, and Geoff can speak to this more, if we go from the small town in China and then truck it to the port and then put it on a boat across the ocean and then get it into the coast of Canada and then bring it to this other small town on the other side.
Yeah.
We're talking about 30, 60, maybe even more days pushing this part out even further, and they just couldn't make that. They could not stomach to have that part down that much longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our customers come to us with their most difficult supply chain and transportation problems. And what's really unique about this move, the AN-124 is the largest cargo plane in the world.
Wow.
There were only 50 or so built. I think there are only 20 or so left flying today. It's a Russian-made aircraft. So, Geoff and his team took a really difficult set of circumstances and went out and found the only airplane that could handle that move, and then coordinated the pickup, the onloading, the flight over, and the offloading and final delivery. And it was really about that collaboration and coordination that differentiates us from other folks that are in the marketplace out there.
Absolutely. So can you take me on a little bit of a journey about how you were able to have these things line up for you?
Yeah, for sure. It was quite a complex move. As they've obviously said, there was a lot of moving parts. We originally reached out to 3 or 4 different people in China that have kind of specialized in these moves for us before. Got a couple different rates for the customers. Regan said obviously they were shopping this because it's such a huge critical move that you want to make sure it's done right and have somebody move it that knows what they're doing. They did decide to go with us, so at that point we got the ball moving. We had about I would say 6 weeks to a month before it was actually ready to move, which is, although it was a chartered aircraft and it moved fast, it does take time to get everything in order. Initially, they had to just make sure that everything would fit. We had a gentleman in China go out to the shipper's site and physically look at the freight, make sure it was going to fit in the plane, it had correct packaging, crating, that it would be able to be lifted into the plane, because there's on the Antonovs they have cranes inside of the bellies of the plane to help maneuver the freight so that it sits in there and sits evenly so that the planes can take off and land. So they had to do that. That was about a week or so before anything even moved. Once that passed, we then got Chinese customs involved. They pre-cleared it, made sure everything was ready to go, good to go on that end. From there, it was trucked to Qingdao Airport from the small city out there. And once it was there, it had to sit there for about 24 hours at the warehouse before being loaded onto the aircraft. And the loading and offloading, you had to have a crane and as well as a pretty big forklift. So it was obviously, I think you can see, the freight itself was, one of the pieces was over 188 inches long, 100 inches wide and 10 inches tall. So it was pretty big, ugly stuff.
Yeah.
Once it took off out of Qingdao, then it flew from Anchorage. When it landed there, it was about 2 in the morning there. They hung out for roughly half a day to refuel, kind of recharge their batteries, the crew and everything like that. And then once it left Anchorage, it arrived in Calgary at about, Regan was there, I think it was just after 5 in the morning, so bright and early on Friday morning, April 30th, I believe that was. From there, we had to arrange cranes and a forklift to offload it, make sure it had cleared Canadian customs before all that took place, and all that fun stuff, the paperwork. Fortunately, we worked with Livingston, who was their broker. They were very helpful in getting it pre-cleared and all the paperwork out to the plane and make sure everything was on time. And then from there, it was loaded onto the truck, which took, I think, an hour or so just because it is such big, ugly freight. And then from there, it was loaded, I think, and on the road at about 10 a.m. and then down to Spar, which I believe was about a 6-hour drive, and they offloaded just after 4 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon on Friday.
That is impressive. And if you're not really paying attention, just one of the things I want to reiterate here is that Geoff was a little bit a part of this project, but he went from point A to point B with you. Cap Logistics makes sure that they stay on top of the move the whole time it's going, and you met them there personally, right? Talk a little bit about that. How was that travel for you?
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was the weather wasn't the best. It was about 10 degrees and snowing sideways, and
so
it was
perfectly spring weather in Canada.
Perfect spring weather for a big aircraft to land. It came in, and there was a number of parties there. There's Canadian Customs. The brokerage company also sent an individual there. The insurance, the company insuring it, had an individual there to monitor the offloading. I was there. There was a crew that was there from the actual Calgary airport to help observe. There's a crew that offloads from the aircraft, which is the crew that travels with it and uses the internal crane that's on a track system to pull the parts out of the aircraft and onto a truck. That company takes the freight off of the tarmac, and then there's the final mile, final delivery company taking it all the way down into the mine site. And so a lot of different people who sort of have their own specialty, and sort of that's what CAP specializes in, is sort of taking all of these different parties, making sure that they are taking care of the specialty work that they do, and ensuring that the job and the shipment goes off without a hitch, goes smoothly, and that the customer's problems are solved.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you've got something to say over there.
No, I think we talk a lot about collaboration within the CAP family of companies, and I think this is a really good example. You got Geoff, who works for CAP Worldwide. You've got Regan, who works for GS Logistics. You've got CAP Logistics involved. We also got our charter company, Alliance Air Charter, involved in the flight as well. They helped us find a ground handler up in Calgary. It takes a lot of coordination to pull this off. The wait time on these airplanes is incredibly expensive, but they're really good at offloading those airplanes in a timely manner, and Reagan was there to make sure it happened.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what John said, that the Antonov flies in a nomadic fashion, and so we really have to make sure that everything's taken care of beforehand, because this aircraft was going to, I think, South Carolina or North Carolina after it was done with our offload. So if we get there and for some reason there's an issue getting parts off, or there's an issue with a crane not being able to load something, we start backing into someone else's trip.
Right.
And so it's important just to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
That's fantastic, guys. Thank you. And one of the other things about this great move is that we were able to get a video out there of it. Yeah. So that is on Cap Logistics LinkedIn page. It's on their Facebook page. I believe we have it on their website. I'm also going to hook it up to the YouTube channel here so people can see that video as well. It's a pretty awesome, just the stats coming at you, which is really amazing. So is this a typical move for you guys? Is this something that you do every day, once in a while? I know this is kind of, as long as I've been here, this is one of the biggest moves I've seen for sure.
I don't think I would call it typical, but at the same time, at CAP, we pivot quickly. We have done Antonov charters before. It's not necessarily an everyday thing, but that's one of the nice things about being the company that we are, is that we sort of look at a problem, figure out how can we be flexible to the problem and help to solve it for our customer. And that's sort of how CAP has made a name for itself. Is we don't force you to move into our box. We sort of build our solution around what your problem is.
A bit of a boutique there.
Yeah, just to add to that. We, Cap Logistics and Cap Worldwide, we handle anything big and small. Kind of like a charter. We've handled hand carries, which is essentially the same thing, but it's something that's 5 pounds, and it's again a line down, and they're losing thousands of dollars. So you essentially buy somebody a round trip ticket from, in this case, possibly China, the guy puts the 5-pound piece in his bag and flies over to Canada and drops it off for $10,000, which is pretty pricey. But again, if they're losing thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, then it's not that pricey at all. So we run the gamut. There's one we're working on now for another one of our customers coming in from Spain that is 120,000 pounds of 45-foot long pipe. We won't be chartering an aircraft, but it will take 3 separate aircraft to get it over here.
Wow.
So it just to give you an idea of some different things that we do, kind of big and small and everything in between, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak.
Absolutely. We had Alliance Air Charter, actually. We had John Brand and David Kowicki on with us on Monday, and that was an exciting show. So you guys work quite a bit with Alliance Air Charter as well.
Yeah, I think that Dave helped out a lot. The folks at Alliance have a much they're a couple degrees closer to folks at the air cargo facilities, at the airports, and those ground handlers. And so we came to them and asked, hey, do you know anyone, or maybe know of someone who knows someone who can help us get these parts off of the aircraft in Calgary? And so they were a big help to us there.
So one of the things that I keep hearing from you guys is essentially that you can kind of make this your own, right? If I called up and I needed flowers delivered to my mom yesterday, would you do that for me?
Negative.
No. Okay. Well, what would you do?
Cap Logistics and Cap Worldwide are B2B companies. We provide solutions for business-to-business shipments.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get involved in residential, final mile, any of that stuff.
Okay.
We provide customized transportation solutions to our customers, and we've done that for over 35 years. The company started here in Colorado, providing expedite and emergency type shipping to mining, oil and gas, heavy equipment.
Okay.
And the company has evolved from an emergency transportation provider to a customized transportation solutions provider. And that means that anything being picked up at a business and being delivered at a business, we can help you with that. Whether it's a 1-pound box or whether it's a 200,000-pound piece, whether it's an international shipment, across country lines here in North America, or whether it's from China to Canada.
Yeah. So customized. Let's dig into that just a little bit. So are you willing to work with me on pricing? Are you willing to work with me on the mode of transportation that I want to get there? What kind of boxes do you check off when you're going through with a customer?
Yeah, I think that, as John said, we started with the critical end of the business and have moved closer towards more of a customized business model. And really that means for every customer, it could mean something different. A lot of customers, customize means expedite, but there are plenty of customers that we have that we've built solutions around pricing, around making their lives easier by helping to operate their traffic departments, looking at their supply chain, looking at their entire business from top to bottom to say, how are you doing things now? What's your biggest problem? And where can we help? And I think that that's something that we're trying to move closer towards is, yes, we're strong in the expedite market. We're strong in sort of, you called it earlier, that boutique sense of, I've got this and I need you to work around me. But we're also trying to move towards a sort of holistic model almost, if you will, of we're going to be your traffic department down the hall. We're just a phone call away. And we're going to be able to deliver a quality product at a price that you think that is fair, and be able to sort of be a holistic provider of everything from international to domestic.
Along those lines, other transportation providers out there have a bunch of prepackaged solutions. So when we say customized, we mean customized. And what does that mean? It means tell us where your stuff is at, tell us what it is, tell us when it's going to be ready to pick up, and when you want it delivered and where you want it delivered. And that's the solution that we build for you. When you come to us, we're going to give you different options. The shipment that Geoff talked about of pipe coming from Spain, he offered the customer a charter solution, an air freight solution, and what's called an ocean break bulk solution.
Okay.
So we serve up, a platter of options, and it depends on what budgets are like. It depends on what the value of the goods are. It depends on how much downtime's involved. But we provide multiple solutions to each opportunity that our customers bring to us.
Excuse me, that's wonderful. I actually really dig that. You guys have been here for a while, I'd imagine, a couple of years at least. Do you have any favorite shipping stories, any cool moves that you want to talk about, perhaps?
Yeah, I've been here for just shy of 12 years. There's been a number of interesting things I've seen. I didn't work with one directly, but a gentleman that used to work here for a long time, Epi. I remember he had I think it was going to a museum, an elephant that had come from Africa, and there was pictures on his desk of it on the back of a flatbed driving down I-25 headed down to Colorado Springs.
A live elephant?
It used to be live at one point.
Okay, for a museum.
Yes, yep, exactly.
I
No.
heard that, it just fell out, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that's a valid question. It was not live at the time, but it was at one point. But yeah, I headed down to a museum, so we've done stuff like that. We do the Rock and Mineral Show out of Tucson. I don't know if you guys have talked about that at all. I think we've had, or you guys may have had Mike Hoffman. He's one of our sales guys that specializes in that. And essentially, every year in Tucson, people from all over the world descend to the desert of Arizona to bring their rocks, fossils, gems, minerals, and trade, sell, buy anything that you could think of, from little sparkly or like Himalayan salt to, we've shipped a couple like velociraptor skeleton, stuff like that. So yeah, anything you can think of, we've probably moved at one point or another.
That's super exciting. I believe the Antonov move might have been one of your favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely up there. It's probably right now on the top of my list. Another thing that we've been trying to get into recently is the microbrewing market, and recently one thing that we did is that one of our customers, they actually were looking to expand their facility, and so they had a lot of equipment that, while it was still useful, it was too small for the new operation they were looking to move into. So they sold it, and they sold it to a brewery that actually is based in North Carolina. And so we were there on site with them as they disassembled their old operation, loaded it onto a flatbed for us to take down to a new operation.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting when you're just taking a piece by piece an active brewing site apart and then moving it to another one. Was definitely interesting for me to see.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, just watching the whole process go. John, you're our vet here.
I think one of the biggest moves that we've done here at CAP, we actually moved a C-17 from Buckley Air Force Base to Afghanistan.
That's amazing.
So we coordinated, we gathered food and books and farming materials and all kinds of humanitarian aid. We coordinated picking it up all over the United States. We brought it to our docks here at Camp Logistics. Caravan of trucks over to Buckley Air Force Base. The U.S. Air Force actually ran that for us. They took it into an Air Force base in Afghanistan. It was turned over in Afghanistan to the Canadian Army. The Canadian Army delivered it to southern Afghanistan for us. And it was, I think that shows that we can scale up when we need to, and we can work with government agencies when we need to, and we do a lot of humanitarian philanthropic work.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the bigger things that I saw was last year with the hurricanes. You guys actually were able to get a few hurricane relief kits down to Puerto Rico at the Boys and Girls Club, which was super exciting. But again, be sure to check out caplogistics.com. And if you have anything you need to ship from business to business, these guys will take care of you. I guarantee you, if you call, one of them will answer. Thank you so much. Check out this podcast and more at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube page. Thanks so much. Have a great day.